Self-expression has always been a trend for me. Yeah, and one of the first things I tell people, my clients, my readers, people who follow me on my column and my writing and things like that, is that be yourself, set your own trends, never follow them. Yeah, so I might give you an insight of what's going to happen or what might work, but you need to be who you are.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Whips and Chains, the podcast where we have these very interesting and unfiltered conversations about the journey of life and the whips and chains that bind us or we set ourselves free from. My guest today is a man of many seasons and who has changed very many roles, morphed from one thing to another, and he started very early in life. And in fact, he is one of the first people who brought men's grooming and men's styling onto the main stage and really made that a thing, which is why now we have so many well groomed men. So, Yatan Ahluwalia, thank you for being here. And
Nice to
I'm
be here.
really excited to have this conversation with you and find out more about
I hope
who
good
you
things
are.
that you're going to find out. Good to be innovative.
Thank you, thank you. So one of the things that kind of spoke to me that hit me immediately when I saw how you describe yourself is that you call yourself a futurist.
Yes.
Yeah. So now unpack that for me.
So, futurist, from a non astrological point of view, is somebody who looks into the future. In my case, it's more trends as to what's happening, what's going to be the next buzzword in the future. This could be related to a lot of the professions that I am involved with.
Yeah.
So, it's forecasting trends, forecasting what's going to happen next, what's the next big thing to expect, where the world is shifting, where that's going to take us, and the results of everything. In the direction in which we head, what's going to happen. Yeah.
So how did this start? How did you evolve into the futurist? Because you started very early in life.
Yes.
We were, I think, all playing with dolls and toys and things, and you were already writing for newspapers.
Yes, that's right.
So,
I started when I was 14.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. So, how did that happen?
I think experience more than anything else. It got better by the year, hopefully. And over a period of time, I started working with a lot of brands and individuals who always, I would say, a lot of leaders from different industries who kept asking me, what should we do? How can we look different? How can we be different? How can we set a benchmark for ourselves? And that got me thinking is that rather than telling them what's happening now, I should be a little ahead of time and tell them what's going to happen next.
So, more like a spin doctor in that sense.
You could say that, yeah, but
Yeah.
very much grounded, very much in touch with reality, very much in what's actually happening. Yeah.
What do you think it was in you that was, that stood out so much? They said, that this guy is credible.
I think you can say ESP to some extent, some kind of, vibe or some kind of feeling about what's the next big thing that's going to happen. I also consult a lot of brands and companies on that. So that is something that has stayed with me. I keep coming back to those clients. They keep calling me back. So maybe I've got my
Intuition.
finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
Maybe, I would say that. Yeah.
So, when was the earliest that you felt in yourself that I'm different as a child?
Very early. Very early. I was always the silent kid, for sure. Not the one into large groups and having a lot of friends. I was very quiet, very reserved. You'd find me in the oddest spots, yeah? Like if people were playing on the beach, I'd be right at the corner in my own little bubble, in my own little world. I've stayed that way. That hasn't changed.
But you were obviously observing and anticipating.
Observation is a huge part of what I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah. So how have your family and the larger social circle that you grew up with, how did they take to your this totally unheard of profession and choice of how to be?
Okay, that's a family I was always supportive, actually. My mom and dad always instilled that be who you are, just be who you are and keep expressing. Of course, parents are always concerned. So I dropped out of college, in the US, something I guess a lot of people would not do. And people were like, what are you going to do? My parents always said, as long as, you're comfortable and secure and financially independent, and touch wood, I've stayed. with my head above water constantly. It just kind of happened, let's put it that way. Yeah. And my parents, with their support, I always made sure they allowed me to grow. And I never found a challenge in anything.
So when you say that they allowed me to grow, you also grew from a very, sheltered probably life where you were just writing and all to, like the fashion world, you were dealing with,
Yes.
a lot of stuff. So what effect did that have on this quiet child?
Uh, in the fashion business, so to speak, you're supposed to be very social out there. It's something I've never done. I don't think I need to do that to procure work or to prove anything to anyone. So I'm somebody who's always set my old rules, followed them, lived in my bubble, touch wood, been successful at doing that, and I'm very happy being in that space. So you'll never find me at parties. You'll never see me on page 3. If I meet friends, it's socially at home. I've never had to go out there and prove anything to anyone.
Okay. Okay. And that's very different from what our perception is of the world of fashion, right?
True,
Because I think even now, one of the things that kids, see on social media and everything is that once you're part of the fashion industry, that takes over your entire life. Your entire life is put up there.
True. I've managed to stay out of that, yeah. And I've always made sure that my personal and my professional life are completely separate. People I work with are not my close friends. I enjoy working with them. I've made some good friendships over the years, but my few handful of friends are not from the business, and that's kept me real, grounded, and very much in touch with reality.
That's a very interesting insight that you say that, your close friends are not from that realm. Because
True.
usually, what happens is as one goes through life, one only looks for the same set of people that one is moving with. So if you can keep friends from outside your circle, then that means you're very confident in who you are.
Thank you, and I like being that way. I've filtered the two separately. They're always tea is tea, coffee is coffee. I never mix both together. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
So, okay, tell me. So, if we come back to fashion, what were the trends dominating like the 90s and all that you see now coming back? Do you see that some things that we grew up with are coming back? Do you foresee that happening?
Self-expression has always been a trend for me. Yeah, and one of the first things I tell people, my clients, my readers, people who follow me on my column and my writing and things like that, is that be yourself, set your own trends, never follow them. Yeah, so I might give you an insight of what's going to happen or what might work, but you need to be who you are. I think that the most stylish people are the ones who are in touch with themselves, reflect who they are, and allow that to be their style rather than following something blindly.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And, but this whole thing of putting grooming for men on the map, right? Which you have done
Thank you.
through columns that you have written, and, people have come to you for styling. That's a very new concept still. I mean, it's becoming more acceptable.
Yeah.
But usually this grooming and styling seem to be like women's realms, right? And the pressure has been only on women.
True.
So how did it just come to you that, hey, this space has not been explored for men? Or what happened? Was there some incident that happened?
So when I started out, nobody knew what a stylist or an image consultant was. So the first thing I had to explain to people when they asked me, what do you do? And at that time, I used to be branded as a stylist. I hate labels. Yeah, but that was the label that was given. And people used to ask me, what does a stylist do? Today, you don't have to say that. So that has changed. When I started image consultancy, people mistook it to be photography. They mistook it to be graphic designing for books and magazines. Little did they realize it's about creating an image or creating a brand for yourself. And that's something which I love doing. Luckily, out of, I would say, the 100 most successful people, men and women both, that come in the Forbes 100 list, about 25% of them are my clients.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm available to them as necessary. And
Wow.
some of these are very powerful names. I will not name who they are. It's a very personal one-on-one kind of space. But it's really lovely because you're creating an image for the way people perceive them.
Yeah, that's actually quite an interesting thing. And so are more of them men than women?
Yes, I specialize more certainly in men's fashion, men's grooming in that space. A, there was a huge gap in that space when I started out. B, I always thought men are neglected. Yeah, thankfully that has changed. Men have turned from being, let's say, how do I put it? The side dish to being the dessert. I think that's good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, do you think that, we also, in our conditioning as we evolved, and even as a society, even now, there's a bit of a label attached to men who go to parlors and who go for, massages and things like that.
Sure. So
which-
metrosexual is the worst word that has been coined, according to me. If a man takes care of himself, I think that's a good thing.
Yes,
Yeah. If you go
yes.
to our military forces, if you go, you're expected to have a certain haircut, a way you groom yourself, and why should that not be relevant in the near world? And I think looking good makes you feel good. It opens doors in both your professional and your personal lives. So why stop at anything?
Yeah. But, men allowing others to help them look good is also something that they have been hesitant to do.
I'll
Right?
correct you there. Some of my clients have been so open with me that sometimes the wives, girlfriends, mothers, sisters, boyfriends, husbands, whatever, have actually told me they talk more to you than they do to us. Yeah, so I don't agree with you there. I think very important with the kind of work I do, that the person I'm consulting is open to my suggestions, trust them, and can adapt and talk to me about some very personal things sometimes.
So, have you ever been in, what are your, give me some interesting story of how you convince someone really big to change or wear something different or have a different look or.
There are quite a few of those stories.
Huh.
Yeah. One or two that will instantly probably resonate with what you're asking is a very famous politician. I will not take names.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a confidentiality clause
Right,
in what
of
we
course.
do. Yeah. Very famous politician, had a very flamboyant image. We certainly toned it down. Not because it wasn't part of his personality, but because when you're a politician, you have a certain persona that you need to take forward and relate to your audience. Yeah. So when you're fighting an election, you can't look flamboyant when you're working with people from a different background or a different socioeconomic setup.
Yeah.
So we certainly toned it down. It was a bit challenging initially in terms of the colors the person wore, the way he spoke, the body language, the way he addressed crowds. Yeah. But that changed, and it worked. And post that, a lot of other politicians came along. Besides politicians, a lot of business leaders happened the same way. I've always got my work out of reference, more out of a certain person saying, okay, I'm going to speak to a friend of mine who might be keen, and it's just one thing has led to another. So it's never really been a challenge. And
Okay.
incidents, quite a few. That'll be another day.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they do agree to be vulnerable. Like, so if you say to someone that, I think you can carry off a pink shirt, they will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've never had a challenge with that. Never
Okay.
really had a challenge with that.
Okay.
And it's not just about a pink shirt. Pink is, I always say that, pink is a unisex color. We as people have typecasted, labeled, and tagged everything. So there's nothing known as masculine and feminine in my world. There's nothing known as these are what things men should do or men shouldn't do. Be who you are. If that's your personal expression, please go ahead.
So do you think that in this era of, social media and everything being out there, the number of labels and the number of boxes that we put people in have grown?
Completely. We've compartmentalized society, the world, and everybody in it. I don't think that's the right thing to do. It will end sooner than later. I do see a huge decline in certain kind of comments that used to be there 10 years ago on social media when people were in shock. Today, shock has changed to awe. Awe has changed to following what the person is saying. I think that's changing. And I think with time, that will evolve.
So what is your take on this overt wokeism?
I have no take on it. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's part of how some people want to be. It's fine. Yeah.
Do you think that will also change? And, because like when we were growing up and evolving, or even when we started, working, there was a sense of, you could take a joke.
Right.
People did take jokes.
Yes.
Now they've become so oversensitive about a joke. Do you think that'll change?
I think in time it will change. I think it's a phase and we'll probably, get past it faster.
Okay.
much
So
faster
what are some celebrity problems
than.
that you have solved in terms of image, or what are some of the sticky things that people don't know how to resolve and you have?
Certain people who come from rural or very basic backgrounds sometimes like to fit into a different audience or a different image for themselves. And that has sometimes been challenging. It requires a lot of, let's say, polishing. A lot of manicures and pedicures need to be done. Yeah. And I don't mean that literally.
Literally,
Yeah.
yes. Huh.
But that is something that is changing, has happened, and will continue to happen for sure.
So there is a set of people who come from
Sorry.
rural but moneyed backgrounds
Yes.
who have aspiration or desire to be like
To fit in.
to fit in.
To fit in. Yes.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, don't worry about fitting in. If you want to upgrade, I would use that as a very politically correct word here. If you want to upgrade who you are or the way the world wants to see, that's possible. But a lot of it has to come from your thought process first. It's not about just the outside, it's also what's on the inside.
So do you train them in, or would you recommend how to change their thought process also?
I don't think I can change anyone's thought process, and I wouldn't want to.
Huh.
As an image consultant, you suggest, you can tell them what's better, what can be done. How much of that is soaked by that person really depends on them. But normally, I've had a very good success rate with that. So I've never really had a problem. People who are willing to change are normally very open and receptive.
Yeah. So what are some of the tips that you would give to people who say men in midlife, who generally kind of are letting themselves go?
First thing, take care of yourself. Yeah, age for me is actually not even a number. Age for me is regardless. It's how you think. If you're young in your mind and your heart, honestly, the outside starts showing it. Your thought process changes. The way you dress changes. And I don't mean to say a 50-year-old should dress like a 16-year-old for sure. Be who you are, but take care of yourself. Look after your skin. Get your haircut done regularly. Shave. I think that's a big one. One big tip I would give Indian men is get over this facial hair obsession. Yeah, because first of all, you hide most of you. And people who are clean shaved and well groomed are always perceived to be more trusting, more loyal. People will take them a lot more seriously. And that's where our politicians are going wrong. Most of them have beards.
Yes.
Not taking names, it's quite obvious.
Yes. Okay, so lack of facial hair represents cleanliness and also credibility.
And I think you look more open to the person across in the room. A lot more trusting, a lot more sincere. People will take you a lot more seriously. Maybe it's a preconceived mindset over, hundreds of years of evolution. But if you go back to where facial hair was, we can't be regressing.
Yeah.
We need to look ahead for sure. And it's going to get more clinical. It's certainly going to get a lot cleaner. A lot of personal hygiene is going to not be a fad, but an essential part of your living.
Yeah, so there is this problem of men and lack of hygiene, right?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a double standard there, because every guy wants like a clean, girlfriend and whatever, but
course.
somehow they don't feel that the same thing is relevant for them. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the mindset. So when, I sometimes work with people from very rural backgrounds, and we do a lot of corporate training for hotels, airlines, and banks. So we work with people from all socioeconomic backgrounds. So I've actually done trainings for people who've always been told, oil your hair every day, otherwise your hair will fall, or you'll stay cooler or whatever, which is untrue. You can't block your pores all the time.
Yeah.
However, over a period of time, that has changed. Personal hygiene is essential, whether you're a man or a woman. If you don't like yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror, or if you don't smell good, how do you expect anybody else around you to be the same way?
Yeah.
You can't have double standards for sure. So start with yourself, the rest will fall into place. Yeah.
And what about like long hair for men? Long hair, this unkempt look.
So I
And,
think,
so-
long hair or short hair, I think is a personal choice. If your lifestyle, climate, the kind of profession you're in allows you to have it, go for it. But if you're in a profession where, you can't be in a boardroom meeting being expected to be taken seriously if you're going to be wild and unkept, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're in an organization where you're on top, the way you are is the way people tend to ape and follow. So you have to make sure the culture you want to see from, at the end result is what you are embedding as well.
Yeah. So, other than, grooming and styling,
Hmm.
you are also into farming
Yes.
and, organic farming and, homestays and all of that. Talk
Yes.
about how did you decide to move from one to another?
So I didn't move from one to another. I got another part of my life started for sure. It's a parallel first. And being in the city, being in the fast paced life, traveling sometimes 35 days a month or 35 cities in 30 days, I realized that I need to take time out for myself. So we bought this beautiful orchard up in the lower Himalayas, which was a few acres when we bought it. It's now about 10 acres.
Okay.
And it's an organic orchard and stunning view. So I go there to recharge. I actually one day just packed up my house in the city and said we're moving to the hills. And I stayed there for 5 years just to kind of, I would say, find myself, be in touch with nature, remain more grounded. I come from a background where we were very good with animals and plants, from the time we were brought up. My grandfather was somebody who kind of magically, I always said, spoke to plants or talked to them.
Oh, lovely.
So after he passed, I found this place and it put me back, in touch with the
So,
real
what do
world.
you do on the farm? What are
So
the
we used pre-COVID we used to do jams, preserves, from all the fruit that we grew.
Yeah.
Now it's just a little farm stay. We have a lot of diplomats that come and stay with us. We have a lot of people by invitation that come and stay there. It's a quiet, peaceful, laid-back life in a very clean space with blue skies, lovely mountain people,
lovely?
and a pack of 10 lovely dogs.
Okay, so you and your partner have
Yes.
dogs instead of children, or dogs
Yes.
as children,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So much better. Yeah. I don't say they don't talk back. They do. But I'm generally, I just have been, very close with animals from my childhood. So I'm a vegetarian not because of religious or any other reason, but I just can't bear to realize that an animal was chopped up to be put on my plate. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So, there are also now this whole ideas of new types of families
Right.
are also evolving,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You have one yourself,
Yes.
right? So, do you think we have become more tolerant as a society to accepting these?
Yes.
And it also does require a certain sense of personal security to not feel that, oh, I need someone to carry forward my name.
True. If you're financially independent and you're secure in what you do, the rest will always fall into place, especially your personal life. And if you don't make two bones about it, I don't think anybody should be bothered about that. And I let people know me for who I am rather than who's in my bed or who I'm sharing my apartment with or who I live with. I don't think that's important for anybody. But having said that, yes, society is more accepting now. Things are a lot better. We have a long way to go in this country. Yeah, but that will happen slowly and surely. It will happen. Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of inner clarity in you as you grew from one part of, just your journey as a again, to use that word, stylist, to farming, to incorporating so many different paths.
Right.
But another area that you did sort of extend to was dance wellness,
Right.
right? So tell me about how that happened.
So for me, movement is part of your grooming. Your body is part of your grooming, the way you package and present yourself. Your body language comes from being fluid in the way your body moves. So my partner Pulkit, who's actually kind of conceptualized dance wellness, decided to put his energies into something that balanced the mind and the body through the medium of dance. So it's very movement driven. It makes people feel good. We incorporate that into our corporate training now. So we do a program called Look Good, Feel Good, which includes grooming and dance wellness. And we just think dance brings out some very nice things in people. It improves their lives. It, makes them feel good about their bodies, about themselves, gives them clarity of thought, pulls them out of depression. So that's one sector that we thought, has huge potential, and we got into it. And Touchwood is doing very well.
So who are the kind of people who would come for dance wellness?
Anybody from the age of 4 to 88. Our eldest dancer is 88.
Wow.
Our youngest is 4 years old. Yeah, now we have a team of about 17 dancers that work for us. We
Excellent.
conduct classes in Delhi, NCR. We are looking at an all India expansion. We're actually planning to open in Berlin.
Oh,
Yeah, our
lovely.
first international footprint in the next few months. Berlin is a city that's very close to my heart. Yeah, I would say my second home for sure. So we're
How
planning
come?
to. I don't know. Maybe it's a past life thing. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. So I'm a big believer that this is not the only life we're leading. It's a place where when I first landed, I remember walking on the street without a map and kind of knowing the
Knowing.
lay of the city. I knew where to turn left, what was ahead, which was
Wow.
strange. And then a friend of mine from the US called me, and and she was like, "Very, like I'm in Berlin." She said, "What's it like?" And without even realizing it, the first words that came out of my mouth were, "I'm home." And she said, "What
Wow.
did you say?" I said, "Yeah, I feel like I'm back home." Yeah, so it was like a homecoming for me.
Wow.
What I love about the city is it allows you to be who you are. And I think that's so much, in relation to what I do, what I tell people. And self expression is encouraged and permitted. And I think that's one reason I love that place. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, this 88-year-old
Mm-hmm.
person that you
Mm-hmm.
have, what inspires him or her?
Her. Yeah.
What inspires her? What's her story?
She says it makes her feel good. She's given her a new lease of life, and movement does that to you. Yeah, so I think if you remain stagnant, keep restricted to a chair or a bed or a couch all day long, you're missing out on so much out there. I think the moment you move your body, your energy, your vibe, everything changes. And that's one reason we have dance wellness, and that's one reason why it's picking up on almost on a 50% month on month basis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have more men than women, or is there an equal number?
There is an equal balance, but I would say more ladies.
Hmm.
Certainly, a lot of men, but a lot of men don't like being in groups. They like to be, in personal one-on-one sessions. But that's changing as well. Yeah, because dance, again in India, from the time you're brought up, women do those things, men are not supposed to, which I think is, again, labeling, typecasting. If you let children express themselves, you don't know what they'll turn out to be like. And just let it be fun. Why do you want to script everything?
Yeah. Yeah. So what are if you had to, come up with a wellness mantra for life,
Mm-hmm.
what would that be? I mean, given so many things that you do.
Move, groom yourself, look after yourself. More than anything, love yourself. If you start loving yourself, your entire life will change. There'll be positivity in every action of yours, for sure. And if you love yourself, the world will love you. People will love you.
Yeah.
If you don't like yourself, or you doubt yourself, or you have some hatred in the way you look or the way you are, that's the end. That's the end of everything. So.
And is this, since you have coached and consulted with people from, the super rich and the super privileged, there seems to be a perception that, among young kids that when we reach that level, all our problems would be solved. Is that true?
Money doesn't sort your problems. You do. Yeah, money never. If money was to solve problems, rich people wouldn't have problems. And trust me, they have more than what average people do. Yeah. I don't think money solves your problems. Yes, it might buy you freedom. It might buy you things which will come and go. But you have nothing to do with the money. It's just a transition process. It comes, it goes.
Yeah. And what about the people in your life? What about the relationships in your life? Do they stay no matter what you go through, or how do you view changing relationships when the tough things happen in life?
People who are meant to stay with you, I think, will stay with you through thick and thin. People who are just meant to transit will come and go. I don't think you and I can change that. I think that I would leave that to fate. I would leave that to some, preconceived, I would say some predetermined thing that's been planned for you. You can't change that. You can't force somebody to be in a relationship with you. You also can't force somebody to stay.
Yeah.
And you can't force yourself to love somebody. It's either there or it's just not there.
So what are some of the icons that you think are, relevant, like all-time icons who were there in the past and who will continue to be iconic in the future as the people who have enhanced this wellness mantra?
More than wellness, Richard Branson for me is iconic. He is who he is. Yeah, I'm sure he's had his own life, his own personal issues to deal with. We all do as humans. Yeah, but I just love his whole style. He's a futurist. Yeah, he has determined things that are going to happen. He's got into businesses and industries that are going to be path breaking in years to come. Elon Musk, for example, yeah, another futurist who has a pulse on what lies ahead. That's where they're both very successful.
And in India, among the Indian sort of.
There are quite a few. There's a lot of new generation of business families that are churning out people that are going to be iconic, but I wouldn't really be able to name A, B, and C for you for sure. Not at this point.
But in terms of how they look among the young lot in India, who are your, say, top 5 people? Could be men or women.
Rahul Gandhi is, I think, an amazing looking gentleman. I wish he would shave. Yeah? It's something now I don't post on social media much. I'm very reserved on socials, by the way.
Yes.
One person who I've only commented to on his post is please shave. Yeah. Didn't get a response. Yeah. But I just think he is a very well turned out gentleman. Not just his good looks, that's of course there, you can't deny that. It's a vibe, it's a persona that I think is magnetic. Yeah, so for me, Rahul Gandhi would be one Indian style icon, certainly.
Okay.
Certainly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
And the women?
Women, there's so many. I think Indian women are far more beautiful than women from most parts of the world. There are a lot of them. Yeah, quite a few.
But do you think self-love, I mean, since you've traveled the globe and
Sure.
you've seen, so do you think self-love as an ingredient is missing in Indian women more than
They're
others?
finding it. When I do my training sessions for corporates, I always end the session with one critical thing is that love yourself. And don't forget who you are. And when you set out and you started your life, don't miss out on those things, your hobbies, your passions, your dreams. They die with you. Yeah. So if you want to make sure that those things happen, you have to make them happen. That starts with self-love. For me, self-love is an integral part of what I consult, what I teach, what I reach out to people. It's in my column. It's a word I've used. And sometimes people have asked me, are you talking about self-love as in satisfying myself? No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just your physical satisfaction. I'm also talking about your mental satisfaction, what makes you feel good from inside.
So, I mean, as part of self-love, looking good is one very superficial part, but it's also the first step.
It isn't superficial because when you're naked and you see yourself in the mirror, it's your physical self you're seeing first.
The importance of being naked and being comfortable with how you look
with
naked.
your body, very important. Very important. And I'm not saying you need to have six-pack abs, you need to have a certain waist-hip ratio, nothing. You just need to look in the mirror and say, I'm sexy.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to, A, be sexy, even better to feel sexy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel that, sorry, time's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were constantly brought up with this concept of shame, not exposing, covering it up, covering it up, covering it up. I suppose, therefore, the body image also took a backseat because
True, and that's right.
we were not taught to look at ourselves in how we are and who we are and
Well, that
appreciate.
explains why we have so much crime related to a physical body in this country. Because of our years of conditioning, of not letting things be, not letting them be opened, shaming every act of showing skin. I've had friends from very educated backgrounds be next to me and comment on a woman who's wearing a shorter skirt. Oh, look, she's asking for it. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
I mean, and how can you think like that?
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? And what stops you from dressing that?
Yeah.
Will that make you ask for it? No, it's okay for a guy to take out a shirt in this country in a cricket match or on the pitch. But if a woman does it, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. Why?
Yeah. I remember Kamla Bhasin had said this thing that, why does, your honor lie in my vagina?
Very, lovely. Yeah. That sounds, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Why does anybody's honor lie in anyone's private parts?
Yeah, exactly.
That needs to
So,
be the case.
So, I mean, it's a very double standard. And I think the misogyny element has been so strong in terms of how we look.
True.
That for women particularly, that is one. And then for men, parallelly, to not care about how they look is also something that's been considered manly.
True. Or artistic.
Yeah.
I mean,
why?
Preconceived labels, preconceived notions, tagging everything. I don't think that's true.
Yeah. So what are some of the trends that have completely now gone? Mustaches are still there, right?
See, I think again, like I said about facial hair, don't misunderstand me when I said that earlier that everyone should take a razor and shave. That would be the ideal world, yes. Now, but if that's what you is part of your self-expression, fine. But keep it well groomed, keep it neat, trim it, shape it down.
Yeah.
You can't look unruly, wild, and unkept.
Yeah. I mean, now there are all these, I think brands for men's facial hair, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's now there's a market for that as well.
Yes, there is, and I mean, there are brands for a lot of things for men which never used to be there, but there's a lot of gap between what's there from brands and products to what men understand. So I've had this question, an interesting one for you. Somebody asked me if they can use wheat on their eyebrows and instead of shaving, just put wheat on their face, which is a hair removing cream, as you know.
Wow.
Lack of knowledge,
Mm.
lack of basic awareness. Yeah, so that's not how you remove, I mean,
Yeah.
that's not how you shave. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's a huge gap on products for men. There's a huge, what no brand is doing is educating, creating awareness, letting people know how to use a deodorant. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you look at an ad, and I will not take brand names here, how do they show to use a deodorant? A guy's wearing a jacket, shirtless. He sprays it all over his clothes.
Yeah.
Apparently, 20 women come chasing him when that happens. Firstly, a deodorant spray is not used on fabric, it's used on skin. The
Skin.
product is designed to work on skin, not on your clothes. Yeah?
Yeah.
So then brands are showing that. So when it comes to
people
the
are thinking-
person using it, he also will go out and put it on his
His
white
clothes.
shirt, stain it,
Yeah.
ruin the fabric. No girls ever run after him, not even the boys. Yeah, so poor thing. But, that's what I mean. There is
Yeah.
so much gap between
Yeah.
what is shown and what is reality.
Yeah. So, talking about this, that it's really funny that when men and women get ready, like women take hours and hours to get ready, and men are ready, like, I mean, they just slip on. Do you think that's changing
Hasn't that
also?
changed?
Has it?
Hasn't that changed?
Properly?
So I have friends and clients. The women are out ready, and the boys are yet getting their
Oh,
hair,
that's
touching
nice.
up their hair to see it's well finished and set in place. They're smelling right. I think that's changing. I think that's
Okay.
changing. So I have
There-
girlfriends who tell me that their husbands and their boyfriends take longer to
longer.
get ready. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to know. Thank God.
So
Yeah.
there is also this thing about, aging skin,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And as men also age, the products that they can use ought to change.
Yes.
So women naturally seem to have this awareness,
True.
Yeah. Because even I think in our culture, our scriptures, and as we were growing up, that gharelu nuskhe
Of course.
is there. But men seem to think that what they could use at 16, they can use at 50, and it doesn't work.
So I'll tell you something. Multani mitti. You ask 50 people in a classroom, what is Multani mitti? Have you heard of it? Everybody has. If you ask 50 men in a room, what is Multani mitti? Have you heard of it? Yes, we have. Do you use it? 2 hands will go up. Why? Because when they were children, they were told, ladkiyan karti hain. It's a woman's thing. Guys don't do this. Using Multani mitti or a face pack or mask is an essential weekly routine you need to do. Man, woman, doesn't matter. Skin needs that. It prevents your skin from sacking. It does deep pore cleaning. There are a lot of benefits to it. Similarly, using a simple thing like a moisturizer, a water-based, sorry, recovering from a cough. A water-based one is the best anti-aging product that you can use, whether you're a man or you're a woman. Yes, aging is an issue. Everyone wants to look younger. Unfortunately, you get to a point in your life where you can afford looking younger much later. Once you're in your 40s and 50s and you don't have responsibilities of children's, their school, college, or anything else on your own personal life, is when you start thinking about yourself. It gets a little late. Start early. My one important tip for everybody is start early. Don't stop your weekly care routine. Doesn't take more than 20 minutes a week, and you have to have those 20 minutes for yourself. Self-love. Love yourself for those 20 minutes a week. You'll be good to go.
Okay. So your mantra for life is to love yourself,
Completely.
do this personal grooming and move.
Yes, and smell good. Sorry.
And what is your mantra for sustaining relationships that matter.
Stay loyal and stay honest. I think the biggest gap that happens is when you can't tell the person you're with your deepest desires, your deepest secrets, or your fantasies, as people label them. Just be honest, be sincere. You've gone outside, tell the other person about it. Hiding things from people and expecting honesty and trust from them never work. Just be. The rest will happen. Yeah.
What can you give me a really moving story from some transition that you've managed to make with your clients or with something that's been life-changing for them?
I think my clients would answer that better, but they've been quite a few. They've been a certain gentleman, a very famous businessman, actually, again, no names.
Yes.
Yeah. Who travels very frequently. I'm not encouraging it, but he sometimes called me at 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and say, I'm going on a date, I'm in New York, what should I wear? I'm like, okay, that's a little difficult. My brain doesn't work at 2 a.m. Yeah, but having said that, I did consult him. He always says, he said, whenever you tell me to dress this way, I get lucky. Yeah, so maybe there's a secret there. Yeah, so it matters at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for that to happen, you'd have a really good insight into what his wardrobe has, right?
True, and who he's meeting. So you have to keep the other person in mind where you are, what the weather is. You don't want to be in a woolen suit when it's 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Just because you like that woolen suit and you think you look great in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so dress for the season, dress for the occasion, dress for who you're meeting, dress for the time of day. Very, very important.
So for the people who are desi,
Yes.
okay,
Like all of us.
and like all of us,
Yes.
the people who are desi but who want to keep, their sort of attraction to the other opposite sex
Not
or
always the
another
opposite,
sex,
the same
not
sex.
always, the same sex.
Attraction, yes.
Attraction
Yeah.
to a significant other, open. So what would be your top styling tips?
I said that earlier. Shave. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot
Yeah.
more. I think smell good. You need to look clean. The desire to touch comes from another person. For most people, at least. Everyone has their own kinks, though. Yeah. Comes from another person being clean. And I think that physical intimacy, you break that barrier of those chains that you put around you when you are more accessible. Yeah, when people can feel that they can touch you. Of course, provided that you're letting them, nothing should be forced. But having said that if you're clean, your personal hygiene is good, your skin looks good to touch. It doesn't need to be young, old, dark, light. That's not important. Good skin.
Yeah.
More important than anything else. I think that's very important.
So what are your personal whips and chains if you had to spell it out?
Chains, I have many. I walk around with walls around me. I'm a very quiet person, very reserved person. I rarely come on interviews like this, not out of anything, just out of personal choice. I'm very comfortable with you, that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
But I think your personal space is very important. And I'm like somebody who likes my personal space. And if my friends and family and whoever I'm talking to can respect that, including my clients, I think that's great.
And so this sense of personal space, does it also come from a spiritual bent of mind?
To some extent, yes. But more than spiritual for me, it's just something I said that earlier. I've been from the time I was a child, I've always liked my personal space. So one of the funny things which some people might look at, so sometimes when I was in a crowded room or too many people, and I was tiny enough to do that, I'd actually open a cupboard, sit inside it for half an hour. And I wasn't crying or weeping. I was just loving my little space, my little world.
So in a sense, do you think this affinity with personal space is the quality that's given you the ability to design personal brands?
I would say so, yes. I think you hit the nail on the head. Certainly, yes.
Because you're so comfortable with who you are and how you are.
True.
You have no problems presenting that to others and then ensuring that others do the same.
I would say so, yes.
So that's actually really a wonderful thing, because that is all about who you are and what you have managed for yourself and what you are facilitating for so many others.
I would say that. Thank you, yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Yatan. It's been a lovely journey interviewing you and sharing all your, insights into the world of so many worlds, in fact. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me. Thank you so much.